Fear. Not sponsored by Tropical Cafe Smoothie.
No.
I just enjoy drinking them. And there's one really close to my parents' house now, so it was a very simple matter of grocery run, drink run.
Nice.
So we're back for another episode. It's been a while, hasn't it?
It's been a little bit.
It's been a little bit. We've been in the moving process, hence the different location. We're both currently staying at our parents' houses, waiting for our new apartment to be ready.
Yeah, they're currently renovating it.
Yes. And so we thought we'd just this is gonna be a shorter one, probably. I mean, we've got who knows, hopefully. But we've got a few movies we watched. During this time, I had not seen any of the Jordan Peele films, the Get Out, Us, and during this time,
Nope had released.
Nope released. That's part of why this episode could have come out in July, but I wanted us both to be able to see Nope and talk about that. So that delayed the
And it took me forever to watch Nope because I had to move.
No. You had to move out. See, I didn't have to move out, so it was.
And then, like, a friend wanted to watch Nope with us, so we had to, like.
Did you watch it with Luke?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I had to find a day that worked for the both of us.
Yeah. But, I mean, I guess we can just get right into it.
Let's start with the movie that forced this episode on my hand because you watched it before. I'm
actually watching movies on my own now. It's a big change. I mean, it's kind of okay. The change.
I don't mind that.
Yeah.
But you watched a movie that I literally had an episode planned for, and then I had to and then I had to change the episode.
You dropped this.
Yes. Sorry to bother.
I don't know where my actual L prop is. I should.
Sorry.
It's somewhere around here. It's Sorry to Bother You. I watched Sorry to Bother You, which is not a Jordan Peele. We're talking about a few other things.
We're also talking about Sorry to Bother You, Candyman.
So
maybe Prey if I feel like it.
Oh yeah, you did just see Prey. So you can, if we have time at the end, you can talk about Prey for a little bit.
Scooby-Doo update.
No Scooby-Doo update. Don't say that.
No Scooby-Doo update.
We're not.
Succession update.
Okay.
We already finished it last.
There are no TV show updates right now, but I will say, since we're both moving in together soon, expect a possible increase in the episodes. From this point on, like we missed July, but I feel we'll more than make up for that over the next.
Yeah, we're probably gonna. I'm not gonna commit to anything, but I feel like after we move in together, we're probably gonna do like every 2 weeks.
The every 2 weeks meaning of bi-monthly will become more applicable than the every 2 months meaning of bi-monthly.
Lauren's like, I would let me know when you need a ride.
Oh right, yes, we're having. People are coming over here after we record this, so let's go.
Let's fucking go. I'm sorry to bother you.
I'm sorry to bother you. At this point, it's been a couple weeks since I've seen it, but it was on Netflix. I've started to just browse Netflix and select movies that I want to watch. Although recently that has stopped because my TV keeps turning off for no reason. Damn. I don't know why. Very irritating, but it's a side tangent. So there's several movies I watched on Netflix, but the one that I feel is worth talking about is Sorry to Bother You because it's how does the Wikipedia describe it? Because it's a bit of a difficult movie to describe.
Let's see. Sorry to Bother You is a 2018 surrealist black comedy film written and directed by Boots Riley in his directorial debut. It stars Keith Stanfield, Tessa Thompson, Jerry Fogel, blah, blah, blah. The film follows a young black telemarketer who adopts a white accent to succeed at his job.
It's a very...
In a corporate conspiracy, he must choose between profit and joining his activist friends to organize labor.
The surrealist elements are what drew this in for me. They never overwhelm the movie. Well, okay, maybe in the end they kind of...
They don't overwhelm the movie until a point, and then after that, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, there's a what the fuck moment in this. We can spoiler talk in a bit, but
early on, it's much more subtle because like the world is implied to be kind of post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
Where like the or I guess dystopian would be the right term.
Yeah, dystopian
where, like,
is better.
Where like there are game shows where people basically it's basically like Running Man or Hunger Games. There's game shows where people are like dying for food.
What was there?
I'm not like
there's
dying.
the one where the dudes get beat up and that's the comedy. But honestly, that's not even that. That's normal TV. This is one of those movies where the line between dystopian and this is just a more fucked up version of our real world blur. Yeah. And I think that's very intentional because even though it is set in this, even though things are surrealist and kind of removed from our reality, the writer and director Boots Riley is clearly trying to say something about our reality, about the exploitation of workers.
Saying something about society.
Yes, he's clearly trying to talk about the exploitation of workers, specifically African American workers in America.
And the way that, like, to succeed, you have to have your
brown nose.
Yeah.
With the white voice, black voice thing.
But also have your blackness, like, exoticized.
Yeah, exactly. I love how they do the white voice because it's literally like different voice actors.
Dubbed. It's like dubbed.
Yeah, it's dubbed over. I think Lakeith Stanfield, is he dubbed over by David Cross, I think?
I think so.
And then
I think David Cross is in there.
And then another major black character is dubbed over by Patton Oswalt. So it's just like two well-known Hollywood actors with very white voices. They're like, it'd be funny if we got them, and it adds to it. It does.
Also, Armie Hammer's in this, playing Armie Hammer.
Oh right, he's the villain.
Yeah.
Very fitting.
I'm not saying this character's a cannibal, but he has tasted human. He has tasted human flesh before.
I also like Tessa Thompson's also great. She's the main character's girlfriend.
Yeah, and like she's much more like.
She's much more progressive or not necessarily progressive, but much more proactive about her like artistic, progressive.
Yeah, and also like she uses her art to
criticize the system
and is not afraid of the consequences.
Mm-hmm. And so there's this conflict between her and him. The more he rises the ranks in this corporation,
and there's also a conflict with his friends because his friends are not.
Because they're unionizing and they want to rise up, and so there's this conflict. And I love
very fitting with the modern debate of are unions good? Asks Union Busters Incorporated.
And then in the background of all that, there's this subplot. At first, mostly shown through like news snippets about this new kind of work corporation that's like work-life hybrid, where they live and work in the same place and are basically just rented out to companies. And there's this immediately, pretty much, there's a discussion about, is this wage slavery? Like what? Yeah. Like this is sketchy. Is it sketchy? Is it not? And then eventually the main character gets involved with the people running that corporation.
And then
it all builds up.
So, spoilers for the
big spoilers, because this. So I was like in our Discord talking about how the movie is like
very grounded, but like
I
still
love
surreal.
These surreal elements, and you guys are like sitting there like.
Spoilers. The main character eventually gets to Armie Hammer's office, where Armie Hammer offers him to be like the spokesperson for the new work-life model, and then the main character who. Even though he has become very much a corporate stooge at this point, is still kind of like, man, this is definitely slavery. I need to think on this. Basically goes to the restroom, or what he thinks is the restroom. He opens the door, and then there's a bunch of people who have been mutated into half-horse hybrids.
That seems so scary. He's just like wandering around, because you're not expecting like overt horror elements, but then you just hear a dude banging on the bathroom stall like, help me. Help me!
And then he opens the door, and it's a horseman with a massive cock.
Yeah. Who, like, towers over the main character.
One thing I liked is that earlier in the movie, when he first went up to, like, the upper level of the white middle managers, he, like, the elevator talks about, like, how he's, like, a stallion, like a prized stallion.
Yeah. So then
and then Armie Hammer tries to reassure him, like, don't worry, the video will explain everything. And it explains how they're going to turn their workers, who are predominantly black, I'm pretty sure, is how it's
kind of implied. I mean, the ads you see on the news for their corporation don't show predominantly black, but every character that you meet who's considering working for this company is black.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily that they're seeking out black workers, but they're seeking out
disenfranchised workers, who are predominantly black. Just like in real life. Mm-hmm. And then the video explains how they're going to feed the workers like this drug that turns them into horses, and then for their spokesperson, they need this is their words, a Martin Luther King figure to speak to the masses and assure them that the work-life model is good and that being a horse is awesome.
The commentary in this movie is not subtle, but it works. Like the tone is. I find that the more like, despite what we're describing, this movie has a rather comedic tone.
Dark comedy is the right description for it. Because it does, like with the horse scene, there is moments where it genuinely veers into horror, but most of it is this very, like, macabre sense of humor.
I love dark comedy because I feel like
it's kind of the best of both worlds.
In a dark comedy, the commentary and satire is usually allowed to be very on the nose.
Yes.
Which is how I like it sometimes. I'm not a fan of dark comedy as in like edgy adult comedy. There's a difference between that and dark as in we're allowed to very obtusely, we're allowed to very clearly comment on.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I like all of Jordan Peele's movies.
They're very...
Jordan Peele, you can tell he started out in comedy because his horror movies always have some dark comic element to them. They're all distinctly like horror or at least thriller movies, but they all have those elements that I really like. And I'm gonna go throw this smoothie cup away. You can transition us into Get Out now. Speaking of,
well, I was just gonna talk about like the finale.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
The movie then ends with the character leading a revolution against the corporate entities, only to find out that he himself, at the party, had been laced with the horse drug, and so he has become one of the horse people. And the last shot of the movie is him breaking into the billionaire's home and implied murdering him. So the movie's message is very much eat the rich.
Eat the rich. Literally eat the rich. Do it right now. Eat the rich.
You know what else tells you to eat the rich? That's terrible.
I don't. Oh.
Get Out!
Get Out! I love that we watched this movie and it immediately opened with a scene with Lakeith Stanfield.
Yeah.
He's just like he's one of the carry-through elements. He's also one of my favorite prominent African-American actors.
He's really good.
Right now. I just like his like delivery style. I like his sort of understated comic style. I like that, like, it worked so well in Death Note when we watched that, because I was watching these movies and going, oh, he kind of has a mumbly delivery style all the time. I thought maybe he was just doing that for L, but he kind of has that all the time.
Yeah.
But it works for him. Really, like, I can understand what he's saying, even though he kind of is a bit of a mumbler.
Speaking of openings, this movie has a great opening of, like, following this black guy
played by Lakeith Stanfield
as he goes through this very white suburban neighborhood, and he's clearly uncomfortable
the whole time.
And then a car pulls up behind him and slowly starts following him, and he's like, "Fuck this like boogeyman shit," and goes to cross the street.
Yeah.
Only to see that the car driver door has opened, and he
gets nabbed.
Yeah.
Simply put. But I feel like even just that opening scene establishes the tone of the movie really well, because for the whole scene you have Lakeith Stanfield kind of monologuing to himself like, oh shit, this place is sketchy, I gotta get out of here, not today, not today. And so it immediately, like, within that opening scene you get both the tense horror of, uh-oh, what's gonna happen, like, to this person, but you also get the, like, comedic, the pseudo comedic, like grounded kind of dialogue writing that Jordan Peele consistently delivers in these movies, where you've got like the main character's not the main character. I feel like the comedy in Jordan Peele movies grounds the movie, even when his ideas are fantastical. Like it grounds the movie and makes you actually care about the characters, which a lot of horror movies, not a lot, but I know a good enough chunk of horror movies don't put that much effort into making you care about the characters. Jordan Peele,
the horror is usually there to diffuse the situation.
Yeah, Jordan Peele uses comedic, more lighthearted dialogue to make you like interested in the characters that are in the horror movie.
Yeah.
So not only are you following the premise of man goes to visit his white girlfriend's family as a sense of, okay, when's something gonna go wrong, but you're also following it as, okay, what's gonna happen to this character? What is this relationship between the two of them? What's
with the weird positive racism remarks people keep saying around him?
Get Out is very good. It's not my favorite of these Jordan Peele movies.
We talked about this like after we saw Us. Like, Get Out is a great showcase of Jordan Peele's writing ability.
Yeah.
Like the direction and the acting are both good, but the writing in Get Out is what elevates it.
And then Us has the opposite thing going on, where I would argue you can tell Us is his second movie because he gets way more directorially adventurous. But the writing is also not quite
as...
The concept of Get Out is very clear, very sellable. There's a reason it was his first movie.
Sellable in the sense that like you can tell someone the
very pitchable, very pitchable. That's what I should say. Not so much sellable, pitchable. Yeah. Very pitchable. And it's like, and it immediately makes sense.
If you strip away the race elements, it's the oldest horror movie cliche
exactly.
ever. Guy goes to the woods at a spooky house.
Yeah.
Spooky shit happens.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's those racial elements that elevate it and make it way more interesting than just if it was.
And I'd imagine, like, we're two white guys talking about all these black-oriented horror movies.
Let us white people tell you our opinions on black horror.
I'd imagine Get Out, like, I thought it was very good, but it wasn't. I'd imagine if I did relate to the experience more, it would be all the better.
Yeah.
Like more than maybe any of the other Jordan Peele movies, I think this one is. I have to imagine this one is elevated even higher if you can relate to the premise of being a black person going to like a white girlfriend,
just the constant anxiety.
The anxiety of that. I can't relate to that anxiety. But the writing and the direction is good enough to that's what movies should be doing, right? Is making you feel, even if you can't pull from real world experiences,
the movie can put you in those shoes.
And it does a good job putting you into those shoes.
And it captures that like hypocrisy of white people, like not necessarily after Obama, like just in general across.
It is after,
but like. That post-Obama idea that racism is over now. So now we can talk about how, like, man, black people have it so good, you know? Like, you're
while they're simultaneously mind controlling them and making them into, like, servants. Because that's, spoiler alert. That's kind of that's the twist.
Part of the twist is that they're transplanting their own brains into the brains of black people. And then using drugs and mind control to keep them servants.
I think that's the part that, because they introduced the hypnosis element very early. They introduced mind, so you can figure out very early that, okay, there's mind control stuff going on. The whole brain transplanting thing is another layer of it that I think you don't quite predict until you're like.
It adds a level of oh fuck.
Yes. This movie is a constantly sinking feeling of
it goes from
fuck.
It goes from like the character is mentally in danger to the character's gonna be basically brain dead if he fails.
Yeah. And I think that's probably why this is also the most well received of the Jordan Peele movies, because it does have
I don't know. Nope seems to be getting a lot of
Nope is getting. I've seen a little more mixed from Nope, but personally, it was my favorite of the three.
I think personally, it was my favorite. Too.
Yeah, we'll get into that. It's also a really good theater movie.
It's a really
But yeah, is there anything else you want to say about Get Out? I love when Lakeith Stanfield's character reappears.
Yeah,
that's such a great sequence.
It's so jarring, but also funny.
He reappears acting completely differently as like the black husband / boyfriend of the white people.
Which before we knew it was for sure that it was like brainwashing and mind supplantation. We're like, oh, he's acting like the Uncle Tom, like good black man
all the black characters that he meets,
as opposed to the subservient black
all
characters.
the black characters that he meets at the house are like racial stereotypes pulled out of like
Uncle Tom.
Yeah. Which I think is so interesting, because you could have just had him go to the house and just have all the white people be mega creepy, but instead they did what I think is a much smarter thing of having them be subtly creepy, having the white people be subtly creepy.
It's because they're creepy in a way that's like they're trying to be nice.
Yes, yeah.
But
that's so much more interesting than showing up to the spooky house and having the scary rednecks try to kill you. It's so much more tense to have the people who run the house be like seeming like creepy, but also
we're doing this because we just want what's best for everyone.
While the people that the main character is supposed to relate to, I get like the people of his race that are there who can normally reassure him that it's not that weird, are doing the opposite and making him sure that something is weird because they're so like brainwashed and strange. It's very interesting.
And acting like.
I also love his friend. Every one of these Jordan Peele movies has a character that feels like they were in a comedy.
Yeah.
I love that. I love his friend. In this one, it's but he calls his TSA friend multiple times throughout the movie.
And the TSA friend keeps going, it's fucking mind control sex slave shit.
The TSA friend is like on it, and then he eventually ends up coming and like kind of saving their ass when he's trying to when the main character is escaping.
I really like that escape sequence.
It
has a lot of good planting and payoff. Like earlier, there's this theme of the deer, which is also symbolic of the main character feeling passive for not doing anything to help his mother when she died in a car accident.
Oh yeah.
But it also it adds to the later symbolism of him using a deer to kill the brain surgeon dad.
Oh yeah.
Because there's also shots of a deer head in the house at some certain points. And then I think they also set up the door having a weird lock, and that comes into play when the brother attacks him and he uses the lock to get himself out of the head out of a rear naked choke.
I think if I had watched this movie when it actually came out, I would have loved it more, because I think.
Well, because there's so very little like it when it first came out.
And also there's the thing of this one does have the most clear, easy to understand premise, as we stated, of the Jordan Peele movies. It also
the premise is in the name.
Yes.
Get out.
It also has the most simple, it has the most standard horror movie plot of the three, just with a new element. And I think that's why I would say it isn't my favorite of the Jordan Peele movies, because
he does a lot of interesting stuff in other movies. For instance, Us.
sUS. Among Us. Alright. Us.
I really like the directing in Us. It's it takes what was the occasional really good shot in Get Out, where it's very surreal and
like the sunken place.
It's basically if the entire movie was shot as if it was the sunken place.
And Us gets into the horror elements a lot faster. I was surprised when
within 15 minutes,
I was surprised.
The main character is meeting a doppelganger of herself who is smiling evilly and fucking trying to choke her out.
Yeah, I was surprised how fast the doppelgangers showed up, because the whole premise of this movie is that the family has doppelgangers, and it's a lot more complicated than that, but part of the mystery is learning the deeper layers of why these doppelgangers exist, where they came from,
why they act the way
they do. This is one that I think...
This is people's, we have, our friend Warren says that, like, Get Out is better on rewatch, and I don't disagree, but I think Us is even better on rewatch.
Us?
Because, as someone who has rewatched it, you find so many different... Like, the first time you watch it, you're like, wow, that was really good. I like that twist. The second time you watch it, you notice all of the different layers.
There's a twist at the end that kind of recontextualizes the whole story. And you were rewatching, so you knew. I think I watched a video about this movie at some point years ago, so I knew I remembered the twist, like when the movie started. I was like, oh yeah, that's the twist. And so then I was able to watch it with that lens, which I don't think knowing the twist really it enhances the movie, because you
start noticing all these little ticks.
You start noticing the thematic intricacies in the movie. Where I think that's why this movie got kind of a middling reception when it released, is on a first viewing, I could see if you don't know anything going in, it could be...
And expecting, like, Get Out 2.
Yeah, you're expecting another Get Out. This one is much more cerebral and confusing.
And it still does deal with, like, black issues in America, but it's a lot more it's more focused on, like, if anything, like the American dream.
Yeah, and the perversion of that.
Yeah, and like how that affects life.
Basically, I mean, I guess, I don't know, do we want to go into the twist? I think we should talk about the other cool stuff about the movie.
I really like the dad character.
Yeah, the dad character is a lot of fun.
In a worse written movie, the dad character would come across as the idiot dad.
Well, the dad character is our requisite character that feels like he could be in a comedy, but is in a horror. I'm telling you, every one of these movies has a character like that, and it never, like, breaks the tone, because Jordan Peele is a good enough writer to, like, blend those.
Yeah.
The dad is funny, but not in a way that makes him a complete moron.
Well, it's clear that he cares a lot about his family, and he's dumb, but he's got a good heart.
He's a little. He's a
himbo.
Yeah, he's a bit of a himbo. He's a little dumb, but he's also the classic himbo quality, which they use well here. Is he's dumb, but he's also big and strong, and so he's able to, like, overpower some of these doppelgangers, and he's able to hold his own the best in a
he's stabbed in the leg. A doppelganger is trying to come kill him in an enclosed location, and because the doppelganger is a doppelganger of this scrawny little white dude, he, as this big, almost 7 foot tall man, is still able to, even with an injury, take this guy down easily.
Yeah. I love that I love there's a white family in this movie that they're friends with, and they all just get instantly horror movie killed by their doppelganger.
And it's such an interesting contrast with the white family. Like, the black family, like, they bicker sometimes, they get on each other's nerves, but they're clearly a solid family unit that cares about each other. And the white family is brimming with passive aggressive malice. From the second they're on screen. The mom is
played by Elizabeth Moss, and I feel like that's kind of...
And the dad is played by comedian Tim Heidecker. And he adds this level of, I just want to grill, for God's sake.
They're not in the movie for that long,
but
they just get slaughtered.
They are also the other comedy element of the movie, and they're so funny.
A lot of the fun is...
But they also don't treat the character, like, their deaths as just a punchline.
No, yeah.
They do give them, like...
The main characters are sad about it, and, like...
And it's still horrific.
Yeah, and it's still horrific, yeah. It's horrific because you don't expect it. Like, up until that point, the doppelgangers have been... Like, the doppelgangers of the main family have been scary, but not, we're going to instantly murder you and replace you kind of scary.
Well, like, earlier, part of the twist is that, like, earlier, the doppelganger mom...
The main character, played by Lupita Nyong'o.
Yeah, she sets up this, like, weird death game for her doppelganger family and the real family, where it's like, I'm gonna have my doppelgangers prove that they're better than yours.
Because the opening scene of the movie is Lupita Nyong'o's character meeting up with running into her doppelganger. and you don't know what happens. You just know they run into each other, and you know she's traumatized by it.
And then the doppelganger has like a vendetta. Like, why didn't you take me with you?
Yeah, that doppelganger now knows about
the surface
world. That's where you start to get more deep into the plot.
It's like you didn't have to abandon me. Because like the tether mom has been planning this for years and knows the other mom's every move.
Yeah, and so they get locked into this dance.
Which ends with the mom killing the other mom. The
surface mom, who she realizes at the end she is actually from the tether realm, but she doesn't remember. She's just
I think she always knew.
Oh no, well she always knew somewhere deep within her, I think, but I don't know if it's definitely played like a realization at the end, like a repressed memory or something.
I think that's one way to read into it.
Yeah.
I always read it as she always knew, she was just keeping that secret. But like regardless, she kills the other tether, but she does it in front of her son, and now her son seems to have. It's not sure.
Her son seems scared of her now.
Yeah, and it seems like he knows something about their relationship.
Yeah, he has some sense that something is wrong. Yeah, the son is interesting. I love
it. It adds this. I like that twist because it adds a whole other element to the story where it's like this character had wrongly had their life stolen from them, but. That
the villain wrongly had their life
but that doesn't justify them going to all of these extreme lengths to get it back, because it's not the life that they ended up leading on the surface wouldn't necessarily have been their life. They could have gone a completely different direction.
Okay, Will is picking up more. I was just checking. Yeah, I really like, honestly, talking about...
So it's like neither of them are in the right, neither of them are completely... neither of them are completely justified in their actions, but neither of them are so unredeemable.
Jordan Peele movies have such a great, rewatchable complexity to them. Like, talking about both of them right now, I'm liking them more.
I love to rewatch. No,
I'm liking both Get Out and Us more as we're talking about them, which is it's rare I find it rare for a director or a filmmaker to so consistently be able to bring out that feeling out of you of not just I liked this movie, but
I like it the more I think
about it and I want to watch it again.
Yeah.
And
you know what another movie is like that?
We want to talk about Candyman?
Yeah.
The new Candyman.
Candyman 2019.
We talked about I think
2021?
I think 20.
The new Candyman.
We talked about the original Candyman in, I think, episode 3 of the podcast. The really long online one that is... technical issues. But we talked about Candyman in that episode.
We're not super hyped about it.
Because the original Candyman is
It's like...
It takes a cool horror concept and kind of messes with it through a...
It adds... I don't know if adding is the wrong word, because I feel like the character was always meant to be there. Or at least in the script was always written that way. But it's this story of a black community being haunted by a urban legend told through the lens of a white character who probably doesn't need to be there.
And this movie already improves upon the original just by having a focus on
the actual black people affected by living in this community.
And I also think this is one of the most interesting years after sequels for how it takes the events of the original movie and adds them to the urban legend of Candyman.
Because it's all about urban legends and
the main character is an artist who is trying to. He essentially brings Candyman back into public consciousness.
He peaked coming out of art school, and now he's trying to find a new muse.
And basically, the urban legend of Candyman becomes his muse, and by doing that, he unintentionally brings Candyman back, basically.
Yeah, because now everyone's talking about it.
Because now people have heard about him, now they're talking about him.
And it's definitely a thing where, like, the more you talk about it, the more powerful.
Yeah, and I love the way that ripple effect happens in the movie. Like, and at first it's just him and his friends.
Yeah.
Then it becomes him and the people in the art sphere. And then eventually it gets to the point where a random white teenage girl that was at the art exhibit where his art was, just has her and her friends say it in front of a mirror and they all get killed. And it's like, okay, now it is fully seeped back into the consciousness.
Yeah, it is powerful enough to, like, escape a small...
To escape its community and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also like how, like, in addition to the urban legend stuff, it plays on themes of gentrification and, like, re-gentrification.
Which the original movie also talked about gentrification.
But like, it adds a new layer to it because it's like, oh, they block because the original movie was like, they're blocking the way, they're separating us into a ghetto because they don't want to have to actually take care of us. And then the new movie adds a layer of, and now they're telling rich people, especially like rich black people who have escaped those lives of poverty through their art or whatever, to come back to the ghetto, and so that they can re-gentrify it into a pleasant, white, upper class neighborhood.
And again, that ties into the, like, Jordan Peele was a writer. Or was he just a producer, or was he a writer? I think he was a writer.
I think he may have.
He may have. This isn't a Jordan Peele movie. It's like Get Out, Us, and No. Nia DaCosta.
She did a really good job. I think she also directed Ma, which has its issues, but was also pretty good.
I've heard about that movie. But I just love the way this movie takes the themes that were explored but not fully realized in the original
and takes them to the next
level.
Builds
on them.
It's a great sequel because it doesn't supplant the original in any way.
It just builds upon the original's theme. I'm realizing that the weird noises I keep hearing while we're recording is probably just the brewing storm outside. Horror movie, Candyman. He's gonna kill us now. The final episode of the FEARcast.
Zing.
The one thing in this movie that I'm not super huge on is the character that first tells the main character about the legend of Candyman. He's a twist villain who wants to, like...
He wants to revive the Candyman legend because he feels like with the way that people, that like black men are getting killed in the streets and the way like their neighborhoods are getting torn down and rebuilt, like he feels like they need a new Candyman.
I don't hate the twist,
but I
feel it's a little unnecessary and doesn't really add anything thematically.
You could have had you could have written it so that like the main character, like after finding out about Candyman, like and bringing it back and then going kind of insane, he runs away to Cabrini Green to like try to escape his girlfriend so that like no one gets hurt. But then like maybe his hand literally breaks off at some point.
Yeah.
And he has to replace it with a hook or something.
Yeah.
And people think he's the Candyman. And then like they call the police like, oh my god, the Candyman's real. He's in Cabrini Green.
The original movie was able to sort of turn the main character into Candyman just through him haunting his mind and her psychosis. I feel they could have done the same thing with this movie without needing a huge villain.
Well, it's interesting because like it's also implied that that's happening at the same time.
Yeah.
But they also have this twist villain show up to
kind of
accelerate
speed up the process, which isn't super necessary.
Yeah.
That's my only criticism.
And it's also a little long in the tooth.
Yeah.
Partially because of the the unnecessary.
They have to establish this character who becomes the villain.
But I do like how that character, like their view of Candyman is informed by who their Candyman was, because
that character is well written.
Yeah.
Like the issue is not on the writing of that character; it's just on a plot point that I feel is kind of.
It's like not to compare Candyman to Last Jedi, but it's like in Last Jedi. Nothing in that script is bad. It's just that there's so much.
Yeah, there's just plot points.
There's just so much that it's we don't need to load up the whole plate with plots. We just need the meat, the side, maybe a little bit of spice.
The other thing this movie doesn't have as much of is the original Candyman had a really striking soundtrack.
The soundtrack isn't bad.
The soundtrack in this isn't as standout.
It's very atmospheric,
yes.
So it blends into the background and you don't really notice.
Which I think can also be kind of a plus, because the original movie, by the end, the
soundtrack kind of got overwhelming.
Soundtrack got a little overwhelming,
especially because it's like it's trying to sell how big and grandiose what's happening is, but like if you're not engaged in the plot like we were, it just makes it feel patronizing.
The new Candyman doesn't need a standout soundtrack to like carry it to being a good movie. Yeah. It's just a good movie. The kills are way better than the original Candyman. They're also interesting and well directed and well shot.
They utilize the gimmicks that Candyman is made of.
Yeah,
like the bees are always there. Like
they're consistent. They're consistent. They're well shot. They use the
the rules for Candyman are way more consistent.
And all the kills also use the mystery of the unseen way better, and the tension of the unseen. Like you rarely get head-on direct shots of Candyman killing people. It's much more common to get other characters' POV reaction shots or like shadow shots,
or like from like a window from a distance.
The teens dying in the bathroom is one of my favorite ones, because
you don't see anything. You just hear
you get it from the perspective of another kid who has gone into the bathroom and is just in the stall freaking out, and then one of the girls drops her mirror at the very end and you see Candyman in the mirror reflection under the stall. Like, that's such a cool kill. Yeah. All the kills are really cool like that. Yeah. Whereas in the original movie, I don't know, they just kind of are slasher kills.
He like shows up,
He shows up, he kills somebody,
then leaves.
He frames the main character, and then move on.
Yeah.
Like, that element is so much better.
Yeah.
This is just a much better movie than
And I don't want to spoil too much, because I think this is a movie that, like, really, I think, watching it, knowing watching it.
We did already kind of spoil the twist villain character.
Spoilers.
But I gave the point. Like, going into detail for each scene would
kind of ruin it.
Yeah.
Especially because it's something that you need to experience for yourself.
Now let's talk about Nope. Nope, Monokuma.
Yeah, no.
Oh god. Okay, Nope is Jordan Peele's newest movie. For once, we're talking about a new movie as part of the main slate of movies.
And not like in a side review.
And within like a month of release.
Yeah. Excuse me, Sonic the Hedgehog.
We did, but that was tagged on at the end. We literally forgot to record it.
We literally forgot to record.
This is much better. This is integrated.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Nope is so good.
It's so good.
It's the theatrical, and also this.
There was a certain point where I realized, wait a minute, this is a Western.
Yeah, I had that moment too. This movie's trailers don't. The trailers make it so, like, what genre is this? Is it horror? Is it thriller? Is it comedy? I saw trailers that framed it as all of those. The answer is it's a little bit of all of those wrapped up into one weird neo-western ball.
Yeah, it's like a horror comedy neo-western.
Yeah, because the premise of this movie is
it's following this family of
horse trainers in Hollywood.
Yeah,
who
are on the downslope. Both because, nobody wants to use real animals anymore, it's all just CG. And also because of personal family tragedies.
Yes, the father dies early on in the movie.
His
death is related to
puts the main brother.
You've got the brother who knows all the details about horse training, is very good at it, but is too socially awkward to really push the business in the Hollywood sphere.
And he's clearly suffering from like some depression and a bit of PTSD.
And then you've got the sister who is the opposite, where she doesn't know as much about the horse training because dad never let her into it as much. It's implied vague sexism reasons. But she has all the social skills needed to like push that sphere. And they illustrate those characters' dynamic brilliantly in their like first scene that they're in.
Yeah, because the brother is there like
the brother's there on set, just trying to keep the horse calm, not knowing what to do, and then she shows up.
He looks like if he could be invisible, he would turn invisible.
And I think that's why he relates to the animals too. Is he has this vibe of
he doesn't want to be there.
He doesn't want to be there, just like the animals don't want to be there. This movie has a very interesting commentary on a lot of things. We haven't even talked about the fact that this is an alien movie.
If Get Out is a commentary on white positive racism and like black and living in America as a black man, and Us is a commentary on like the American dream and how it's an illusion. Nope is probably a commentary on the entertainment industry, specifically movies, and how they're pretty exploitative to everyone involved,
be it people,
animals,
or even the alien that they are hunting. There's this element of like, should they be trying to hunt this thing?
But in the same way, there's an element to it there. It's like you just can't walk away from it.
Yeah, exactly. The addictive nature of the entertainment industry, and that's.
Always chasing that.
It's funny that
that next
we only just now mentioned the alien because there's just so much deeper going on in this movie thematically than the horror element.
Like there's an entire subplot about a former children's actor on a show with a monkey who went berserk and killed everyone on set.
Yeah, the monkey went to Gordy's home. Yeah, there's a whole subplot about this.
And how that character is affected by that and how that affects his decisions.
I don't think this is. I'm not going to answer that.
No.
It's not one of our groups, so I'm not going to answer it right now. Keep going.
Yeah, and like that character is also involved in the plot in a very interesting way, where like he's also traumatized by the events in his past, but he's leaning into it, where it's like he's trying to disassociate himself from it and lean into it.
And okay, the fact that most of the characters in this movie are, like, they're not exactly this, they're not quite the cliches, but in a Western, most characters are tortured by some traumatic element in their past. This movie keeps
that's what makes a Western great, is that the characters are these interesting characters. It's a bunch of interesting characters.
And that's what this has too.
Yeah.
Is like...
And it's not just a Western in the sense that, like, horses.
Yeah, it's not just aesthetically a Western, because obviously
it's
it has
thematically
some aesthetics, but a lot of their thematically the characters...
Like, there's this element of, like, the dad is... If this was a traditional Western, the dad would be the last gun in the West.
Yeah.
And the kids would be dealing with the fallout of, like, the death of the West.
It's also the almost unheard of good mixing of Western element with alien sci-fi.
Okay. I'm glad
That's so hard to do.
I'm glad you brought that up.
It's been failed so many times.
I'm glad you brought that up. The friend I went to go see Nope with, he commented how this movie was kind of alien, cowboys and aliens done right. I'm not naming him because I don't want him to get embarrassed. But he's not wrong in the sense that, like, that's an example of taking a fantastical element into a very strict definition of a Western and ruining it.
Yeah.
And ruining both elements.
It's so weird. I feel like there have been several attempts to combine the Western with the Alien movie, and it, like...
Well, I mean, you know, there's the classic example of Star Wars as just a space Western with an evil samurai villain.
Yeah. But I feel like there's a lot of usually when a movie is a Western with space elements rather than a space movie with Western elements, it does not work.
Yeah.
So
because they either lean into the hokiness of the space Western, or they do something weird with the sci-fi elements.
And Jordan Peele is also the perfect person to do this because...
And also...
Jack is calling me. Are they here?
Zan.
Oh no, they're here early.
Real quick,
They're here early. I want to talk about the movie.
Well, okay, well, real quick. So, another interesting element of the plot is that, like, it also deals with the real-life cowboy and how the real-life cowboy were often black ranchers, and they don't get movies made about them or songs sung about them in history, and they use that with an allegory, or not an allegory, they just straight up use, like, they talk about how one of the first pieces of film ever made was a black man on a horse, and nobody knows who that guy is, nobody knows what happened to him, nobody knows what happened to the horse. And both of those elements are really interesting.
Yeah.
I was talking about how, like, this movie is also like the dissection of the idea of, like, how oftentimes real cowboys were black ranchers, and they don't get movies made about that.
It's also It's a commentary on so many things. It's a commentary on the Western genre. It's a commentary on filmmaking. It's a commentary on aliens and just like animals.
And animal cruelty and
in general. Because one of the major twists of the movie, I mean, they let you know pretty early on, but personally, it didn't click.
I didn't figure it out until the character literally said it. The spoilers, what they think is a UFO
is actually a giant alien creature.
Yes.
That is just like eating things. It starts out eating horses, but then it also, like an animal, the more that people perceive it, the more it freaks out and starts like eating things. There's a scene in the movie where it just eats a bunch of people because they all see it in the sky when the chimp guy is doing his
because he's all about spectacle.
Yeah, he's all about spectacle. He's like, oh, aliens, and then an actual alien shows up and they're like, huh? And then it just eats them all.
Yeah.
That
scene is both comedic and horrific.
Nope. This movie is one of the most interesting cases of it's not that scary most of the time. It's probably it's arguably the least scary Jordan Peele movie, but also it has
some of the scariest Jordan Peele scenes.
It has scenes that ramp the fear up to 11, such as the Gordy scene, the alien eating people scene.
The scene where the alien is over the house.
Yeah. And like raining down stuff on it. Yeah. Basically, it digests people and then just spits out everything it doesn't want. And I figured that out like right away. But for some reason, it took me forever to figure out, oh, the alien is eating people. I literally had to have the movie show me the alien eating people to be like, oh, that's what they meant by it's not a spaceship. And Alyssa and Warren were like, what? Okay.
I think I figured out it was eating people. I didn't realize that the spaceship wasn't a spaceship until they explained it.
And I think this is one of those movies where it drops these little hints, but it doesn't demand that you know a ton of what's going on right away.
They do a good job of showing and telling.
Yes, yeah. And I also love the tech guy they get to help them film.
The guy who pretends like he's not into aliens, but then as soon as they actually find proof of aliens, he's all the way into it.
He's the requisite comedy character, and he's probably the funniest character in any of these Jordan Peele movies. He's just like this white nerdy tech dude,
and he's like
with aliens,
and he feels so browbeaten, but he still shows up.
Yeah, he keeps showing up. He keeps helping out, even at the end when they're like literally baiting down the end of the final sequence.
It's so
good.
It's
the
literally
Akira bike slide. There's an Akira bike slide.
Not only is there an Akira bike slide, there's literally a Mexican standoff.
Yes. The movie ends with a Mexican standoff between the main character on a horse and the alien. Like the giant alien that is like, oh my god, the ending sequence, and this is more than any of the Jordan Peele movies. You should go see this one in theaters because it's such a spectacle movie.
Yeah.
It's the most expensive movie he's made, I'm pretty sure.
That alien design is crazy.
And it looks so good.
And also, I wonder how much of it was CG and how much of it was practical. Because when you look inside of its guts, some of its guts look like it's made of aluminum foil. Yeah. Or that stuff you put in a car.
I love even the opening shot of the movie of the weird tunnel, and then it goes into the video of the black man, of the man riding the horse.
Yeah.
And then later you're like, oh shit, that's in the alien, the tunnel thing. Such an interest. I really like that. This is my favorite of his movies. I feel like the writing is
The writing is on point as always.
The writing is on point, the directing is on point, and just the spectacle and spectacle in a good way. Spectacle that meaningful spectacle that enhances the quality.
It's a spectacle about being a spectacle.
And then the last shot where Daniel Kaluuya is revealed to be a rock.
That's such a good shot.
It's the most blatantly Western film shot in the movie.
I think he's wearing a cowboy hat.
He's wearing a cowboy hat, and the dust clears, and he's on the horse like, yeah, I'm alive. So good. That's the movie at the end saying, hey, okay, in case you didn't get it from the rest of the movie,
in case you couldn't tell, this is
kind of a Western. I was going for neo-Western here. And I have a big love for the racism elements aside. I have a big love for the Western genre.
Everyone loves the Western genre except for when it's racist.
And I mean, this movie, it's a Jordan Peele movie set in the modern day, so the racism elements are not
it's not intention. It's not racism in the sense that it's like, yeah, black people don't deserve rights.
If there's some commentary on racism,
Yeah.
but there's not like overtly racist character. It doesn't have that pitfall of the Western.
Yeah. It doesn't have John Wayne show up and talk about how back in my day we could kill as many Native Americans as we wanted to.
And I think that's a good place to end. Go see Nope. It's really, really freaking good.
But Coleman, what movie are we going to exorcise?
None of them! No Exorcism today because these movies are all good and we didn't watch anything bad.
We're gonna insert a clip of us, I don't know, exercising cats or Meet the Feebles.
No. Nope. Nope, I'm not gonna do that.
Nope.
We're ending the video now.
Fear.
Fear.